Are you ready to uncover your retirement solution? Learn more as Jeremy Keil and his guests guide you along the path of retirement and reveal the 5 steps you need to take to solve your retirement puzzle. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Retirement Revealed with Jeremy Keil. Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
Doing good, Eric. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here because it would be boring with just me on here.
I suppose.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to give the audience nearly the information that you're about to. And today we're going to be talking about retirement planning for employees of WEC Energies. Now,
you got it.
Yeah, the title sounds very specific. However, you did send me some notes ahead of time that you wanted to, points you wanted to cover. And most of this looks like it really applies to most people that would work at a publicly traded company.
Well, you got it. And when you work at a publicly traded company, you may have stock. A lot of times you have pensions still. A lot of these are the same tactics and things you should be looking at when you're hitting retirement. We happen to be in Milwaukee-area. WEC Energies is a big, they provide our energy. The whole reason the lights are on right now is because of WEC Energies. And so we have a lot of the employees there working with us on the retirement planning. And there's some things that we've found, some potential pitfalls, some successful strategies that we want to share with WEC Energies employees specifically. But if you're someone that's not even a employee of WEC Energies, just listen in because there's a lot of things here related to pensions, 401ks, employer stock that's going to be very, very pertinent to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for all the listening audience, definitely pay close attention. Now, just for the WEC Energy employees, thank you. Thank you for having Jeremy's lights on because you're enabling this podcast today. So thank you for the work that you're doing. All right, so where do we need to start the discussion today, Jeremy?
Well, the first thing is just thinking through is what do you need to even decide when you're getting close to retirement? And it's just a thought here on if you've got a pension, you have a big decision ahead of you on do you take a monthly payout or a lump sum? They could give you a big dollar amount right up front, or you could get a monthly amount. When do you start it? There's all kinds of decisions to make there. Something you got to make sure you keep an eye on. Health insurance. Do you take the standard plan or the plus plan? If you're not a WEC Energies employee, basically it's kind of do you take a low deductible or a high deductible, or do you go somewhere else? You don't have to take the employer or the retiree plan. You could have other coverage. There's lots of different coverages out there for health insurance. You got to make that decision. Life insurance. Do you convert what you already had? A lot of people already have life insurance through their employer. Do you convert that same insurance, or do you go out completely separately, get some on your own? Your 401k, what do you do with that? Do you keep it inside the 401k? Do you roll it over to an IRA? What if you have WEC Energy stock? What if you have stock from your employer inside of your 401k? There's some little known tax rules that are there that you ought to know about before you make one of those decisions. There's also your unused sick leave and vacation. Can you get paid for that somehow? And this isn't your only money that's out there. You probably have Social Security too. Again, when you start your Social Security, how do you integrate that into your overall plan? So just think through whether you're working at WEC Energies or not, but those 6 areas, pension, health insurance, life insurance, 401k, unused sick leave and vacation, and how do you integrate that all with Social Security? That's a big deal. Those are things you should be looking at before you retire.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just covered a ton of stuff in about a minute and a half. So there's a lot to decipher there. I know that you have actually a checklist that's available for WEC Energy employees, correct?
That's it. That's exactly it. We've got a WEC Energies retirement checklist. It's going to be on our dedicated website at wecenergiesretirement.com. So if you work there, you know how to spell that, but WE Energies, ENERGIES, retirement.com, and you'll be able to download our retirement checklist so you're prepared, ready to go before you hit retirement. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody else who's listening that is not part of WEC Energies, please, by all means, go there, download that checklist. It's not going to be exactly fit for you, but it'll give you some of those questions that you'll be prepared to ask Jeremy when you give him a phone call or when you shoot him an email, because it's still going to be great information for you. All right, where do we go from here? I mean, you named so many things.
Yeah, a lot of things there. A lot of things. We've helped a lot of people get ready for retirement, and we found that there's 5 pitfalls that you might just fall into one of these. So you have 5 potential pitfalls. Want you to be aware of these so you don't miss out on any money, don't miss out on any opportunities. And number 1 is related to the first thing I mentioned earlier. That's your pension. Your pension could be calculated and paid out in so many different ways. A lot of people just take a look at that number on your statement. The way it works at this specific company, WE Energies, is they a lot of times just put it right on your statement there. You've got 200 grand, you got 400 grand. They just tell you the lump sum value. And you got to do a little bit of digging to find out what is your monthly payout going to be. And you have to do even more digging beyond that to find out how does my pension actually change around. Interesting story. This happened last year, and we called in with a WE Energies employee to the Fidelity Service Center. They do the pension there. And we were asking all these questions, just trying to figure out this information for our clients. And the guy said, he just stopped. He said, I got to congratulate everyone on the phone call, because usually when an advisor comes in and is asking about these pension questions, all they ask about is what's the lump sum? How do I get it over to a traditional IRA so I can manage it and get paid on that as soon as possible?
Yeah.
And we weren't asking that. We were asking, how does this pension work? Where can we get more information? We want to maximize the value of this pension. What that representative said is most people take the lump sum and they're not even looking at other ways that could be maxing out what they get for their pension. And it's just amazing. In his opinion, what most people do is they end up taking one of the worst ways to take it, one of the lowest values ways. Interesting enough for this individual, there's 4 different ways that their pension was being calculated. Unless we asked how they all worked out, who knew which one's going to max it out? So you've got to go in, run all these different scenarios, run it based on your retirement date, based on your different age. You don't have to collect your pension the day you retire. You don't have to take it at specific ages like 62 or 65. But when you go in, we do this all the time, when you go into that pension area and you're just running scenarios, you'll be able to chart it out and find out, oh, if I wait a year, my benefit grows by 5%. If I wait another year, it doesn't grow. Well, guess what? You found out the max. You found out some good information, and that will help you determine when's the best time to take your pension, whether you're better off taking that lump sum, how you should take something called survivorship, which is how it helps out your widow after you pass away. So important stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody listening to this that's going to say, you know what, I don't want to get the maximum dollar amount.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody's on the flip
You've
side
worked
of
there
that
your whole
coin.
life.
Yeah.
So many people are working there for 20, 30, 40 years, and they make you a promise, and that promise is based on some certain rules. Wouldn't you want to know what the rules are and find a way to maximize the way that they're paying this out to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of pension, here's number 2 is remember to complete your pension start forms. We had somebody that ended up talking to HR and said, hey, am I good to go with my retirement, with my pension, with all that stuff? They said, yeah, you're good to go. Well, what they could have explained a little bit further is that you don't actually get your pension automatically when you file for retirement. A lot of people feel like it's exactly the same thing, right? You fill out your paperwork, you say, I'm going to retire on this day. That does not automatically start your pension. In fact, WE Energy's HR doesn't even start your pension. You've got to go through a place called Net Benefits. That's through Fidelity. This is actually pretty common to a lot of different other companies, but specifically for WE Energies, you got to go through Net Benefits, which is a part of Fidelity, to start your pension there. So when you fill out your forms to retire, it does not start your pension. That's a separate thing. Make sure you start your pension when you want to, because you might be missing out on it. If you think it's starting on September 1 because you retired in August and you don't get your check on time, you might not have actually filled out the pension form. So you definitely got to do that. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Do you have any idea of how long that takes? Because let's say somebody does miss it. Oh, man, I didn't get a check. They call in, you didn't start it, and then they start the process. How long can that take?
Well, I just saw I just was looking at the forms and it said 6 to 8 weeks. So it could be a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Which actually might mean it might be a little bit of time before you find out there's an error. So that might be one of the first things you do after you have a nice retirement party is call in to Fidelity and make sure, did everything show up on time, right? Did you get all my paperwork? So my pension, just confirm it all so that you know it's in the process, it's in the queue ready to go.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, a few more here. Another one's related to your sick leave and vacation benefits. And I think from what I can tell is this was a little bit of a union negotiated situation where if you were a part of one of the local unions that you were able to get your sick leave, your vacation benefits moved over to something called a premium medical account. So you can take all these benefits, move it to this account tax-free, and use that to take money out for your medical premiums later on. Great benefit.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, but find out ahead of time, can I get to be a part of that? There's some certain rules, some cutoffs. If you don't have enough sick leave and vacation used up, you can't do that. If you're somebody that's a corporate employee, that might not be even part of your package at all. It looks to be, from everything I've seen, more of a union negotiated benefit. So it's a lot more the linemen, the workers that are there that get this. But find out, do I have this benefit? Because you may want to decide to save up your sick leave and vacation so you can get that into your premium medical account. Or if you don't have this benefit, you might want to get sick. You might want to get your vacations in, right? Take care of this stuff and maybe use up some benefits before you retire so you don't lose them at retirement. So just understand what's going to happen to my sick leave and vacation at retirement. That way you don't miss out on any of these benefits at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing kind of related to, we're planning on retiring. We told our company, we told WE Energies that we're retiring. And a lot of times people think that their health insurance costs, right? You have retiree health insurance. A lot of times people feel that it comes out of the pension because it's usually coming out of your paycheck. That's normal. You've been used to that for 20, 30, 40 years. In fact, a lot of pensions do that. They do actually take the payments for your health insurance right out of your pension. That doesn't happen at WE Energies. They'll send you a form. A place called Benefits Express is who they use right now in 2020. They'll send you a form. You can use that. You can go online. But you've got to go in and actually sign up for and pay for your health insurance benefits. Again, it's not an automatic thing. It's amazing how much work it is to retire. There's a lot of work there. Yeah, got to sign up for your pension. Got to actually pay your health insurance benefits. That's the fourth pitfall that we see. Sometimes people happen to miss that one. So we want to make sure that retirement checklist at WEEnergiesretirement.com, that's going to help you make sure you don't miss out on some of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there could be other, I don't want to call them penalties, but if you don't sign up or if you haven't paid your health insurance, I don't know what kind of penalties that might accrue. You don't want to face that or be without coverage for any length of time.
Yeah, if you don't pay for something, you don't have it. Right?
Yeah, boy, that's hard.
Yeah, last potential pitfall. Now, this is one that's a little interesting because it's not as if you're missing out or it's going to cost you something. You don't think. But it's amazing when you are somebody that has employer stock. So if you worked at WE Energies, you have WE Energy stock inside your 401k. This applies to everybody. You know, if you worked at, Coca-Cola, I don't know, who cares? A publicly traded company, if you have that stock inside of your 401k, there's a very little known tax rule that could be a huge tax benefit for you. And if your advisor is not talking to you about this tax rule, it's called net unrealized appreciation. It's a way to take the stock outside of your 401k and have part of it switch over to something called long-term capital gains rates. Now, we just use a lot of big words, but the idea is that if you have employer stock inside of your 401k, you can take part or all of it. You want to do the calculations ahead of time before you do this, but you can switch the taxes from one area called income taxes, which are higher, to another area called capital gains, which are lower. You ought to look into that. And we believe strongly that if your advisor is not talking to you about this stuff, you might have the wrong advisor. Right? This is so important. And unfortunately, most clients, most people don't know about this. A lot of advisors don't know about it. And I think sometimes some advisors don't know about it because they might actually make a little bit more money to just say, forget about it. Take your 401k, roll it over to an IRA. You don't need the WE Energy stock anymore. You know what? You just got to do the math before you do all that kind of stuff. Net unrealized appreciation, little known tax rule. You got to look into that if you have WE Energy stock inside of your 401k, or if you're not at WE Energies, just employer stock at the place that you're working at inside of your 401k. You got to look that up.
Yeah, I would never have known about that strategy at all. And so, yeah, that's crazy. And it's unfortunate that you're probably right. There are some advisors that just, they're not going to really say anything. They just don't really care about it because it's easier to do it one way or another. Or like you said, maybe they get a little bit more compensation for doing it a specific way and they're not being the fiduciary they should be.
Yeah, that's why we love working as fiduciaries. We're not selling you a variable annuity or trying to make a investment commission by you doing this or that. We're just trying to get this good information out there. If you want to work together, let's work together in a way that's a fiduciary situation like you talked about, where both sides benefit. There's no kind of upfront investment commissions or any issues that are going on right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we talked about some things, looked a little bit of downsides, right? Who wants to talk about pitfalls? But you got to avoid them if you don't talk about them. That's it, yeah. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Secrets of success. There's 7 successful secrets. A lot of S's there. 7 successful secrets for a WE Energy's retirement. And the first one does have to do with the thing we just talked about, net unrealized appreciation. It is such a huge benefit to take money from income tax rates of 10 to 37% and switch it down to capital gains rates, which could be 0 all the way to 20%. Even beyond that, this is a huge deal for your heirs. If you're somebody that has enough money where maybe you'll have something left over to the kids, to the grandkids, if you had, let's just say, $100,000 in WE Energy stock that did well, it became $200,000, and you left that money to your kids, your grandkids. Guess what? $200,000 in your 401k, in your traditional IRA, that's going to be entirely income taxable to the kids, to the grandkids. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had followed through and we did an analysis and said this is the best way to go, and we ended up taking the $100,000 out, now that's outside of your 401k, when that grows from 100 to 200, that gain, that 100,000 to 200,000 gain, you made $100,000. We're just bringing an example here, but that $100,000 gain, if that goes to the kids or grandkids, you get something called a step up in cost basis. Mm-hmm. Technical term, tax deal, but the idea is if this is outside of a 401k, outside of a traditional IRA, and it was worth 100 at one point, became worth 200 later on when you passed on to the kids, that $100,000 gain, completely tax-free.
Yeah, you've talked about that on a previous podcast.
Yeah, we talked about exactly. It's a huge deal, this step up in cost basis. Mm-hmm. But would you rather have that $100,000 grow inside of your IRA so the kids pay taxes, or grow outside of the 401k IRA so that your kids don't pay taxes on it? I think we know the answer there.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Big benefit. You got to figure that one out. Again, if your advisor's not calling up, asking about these questions, something called a cost basis, asking about in-kind net unrealized appreciation, they're not using those words. They're not calling into fidelity to your 401k and finding those things out. They either don't know about it or they just have kind of figured out that it's not worth their time in a way. But trust me, it's worth your time as a person that owns a WE Energy stock to find this stuff out.
Absolutely.
Next thing's related to stock as well, too. A lot of people, especially if you're more middle, upper management, you might have these stock options. And what's so interesting about stock options is you don't own the stock. Now, a lot of people like WE Energy stock because it pays a dividend. Well, if you have the option, you don't own the stock, you don't get the dividend. So a good secret, a good successful thing to do is look into when do we actually exercise these options. Most people wait till the end. A lot of times the end is like 10 years from now from when you get it. Mm-hmm. They go 10 years where they have an option. They don't own the stock and they missed out on 10 years worth of dividends. Yeah. So not saying you take your options, you exercise them. That's a big word, but that's saying I just take the stock instead of the option and you do it all right now. But you ought to figure out with your advisor, when do we switch this over to stock so you can start getting the dividends? Options are great, but you do not own the stock, which means you do not get the dividends. And one way to come out ahead is find a way to own the stock and get the dividends. It's worth looking into.
Definitely.
Yeah. Number 3 here, we got 7 because there's so many great ways to make your WE Energy's retirement a success. Mm-hmm. But number 3 is before you retire, run all those different pension scenarios we're talking about. And what we mean is you might retire at 57, you might retire at 62, whatever it is. It doesn't take you too much time. Go to the website, and if you're retiring at 57, you can do an estimate. And what happens if you take your pension at 58, 59, 60? It'll let you go all the way up to almost 70. But when you do that, you can find out, how does my lump sum grow? How does my monthly pension grow? And you can find these different times to say, well, that's when it maxes out. We mentioned earlier that there's some union benefits. There's some different corporate situations. Mm-hmm. Your 401k might be completely different than the person that you're buddies with that retired from WE Energies 2 months ago, because you might have just different rules that are there. Until you find out these different pension scenarios, you don't really know how it's going to work for you. But when you do see how it's going to work for you, you can really maximize it. So before you retire, run these different pension scenarios at different ages. And it doesn't take too much time. You know, how many times it takes you, 15 clicks if you went from 55 to 70? Not too difficult. And it could be a matter of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Well worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you might have noticed here a lot of these secrets to success are the opposite of the pitfalls, right? It's just, you know, if you might have made a mistake by missing out on something, well, go make the benefit by making advantage of something that's there. And one of those is this premium medical account, right? Who wouldn't want tax-free money? And if you're somebody that has these sick leaves, vacation benefits, a lot of times when you might retire, it could either get lost. You just have these benefits that are gone, or maybe it gets paid out to you, but they pay the taxes on it. But if you're eligible for this premium medical account, it can get moved tax-free into an account that's set aside for your insurance costs in the future. And when you reimburse yourself for your insurance premiums, it's tax-free. It could be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. It could be a big dollar amount. That's your unused sick leave and vacation that can be turned into tax-free money for you. So you got to look that one up. Number 4 is find out about the premium medical account. Can you get that?
Gotcha.
Number 5 is a fun one. You and I have talked a lot about giving it to charity and how we love working with people that are charitable. Well, if you weren't charitable before, or if you're just a little bit charitable, you should be the most charitable you've ever been the first 12 months after you retire. And the big reason is when you're working at a lot of these big companies, and WEC Energies is a great one that does this. When you work at WEC Energies, they have an employer matching gifts program where if you give money to a nonprofit, then the company, the foundation, in this case it's the WEC Energies Foundation, they'll match that.
Nice.
They'll even do that when you're retired, but they'll only do it for 12 months. The maximum amount for 2020, we just looked at the 2020 forms for it. The maximum amount for 2020 is $20,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. If you're someone that's ever been charitable and you happen to want to be a little bit even more charitable, you can do it in a way the first 12 months where you can get your money doubled by giving that money to charity, right? If you give $500, $1,000, $10,000, whatever it is to your favorite charity, do it in the first 12 months and apply for and get that WEC Energies Foundation's matching gift program. It's amazing. We just had a couple, and they had combined a lot of these. We took some of that WEC Energy stock out. We sold some of it to free up some cash for them. And then they were looking at this foundation matching gifts program, and they gave the largest gift they've ever given in their lives. They actually gave a $20,000 gift
Wow.
to one of their favorite nonprofits. Amazing. Knowing that, guess what? WEC Energies came in, doubled that. That's amazing. It's so amazing. And you've got 12 months to do it. So if you're charitable, make use of it. If you're not, now's the time to think about it.
What a great way to kick off your retirement.
Yeah. You know,
That's awesome.
you had this long retirement, you get your pension, your 401k, and now you get to bless others with this great gift. It's amazing. It's so great. Next one here is something that's somewhat unique to WEC Energies. What's unique is the name. They call it the Blended Rate Income Fund. But what it really is this thing called a stable value fund. Stable value fund is something that's not allowed to be outside of a 401k. So I don't know where they came up with this rule way back when, but it's the idea that when you hit retirement, you might need some short-term money. You might need some interest rate type of money. But for some reason in the 401k, the way they've come up with this is something called a stable value fund. A lot of times it's actually paying you higher interest than what you can find in the banks. Especially here we are, middle of 2020. Interest rates have been low for, 12 years? Like incredibly low for a long time. So when you're somebody that's trying to figure out inside of your 401k, how do you invest, or do we take money out of the 401k to a traditional IRA? Take a look at WEC Energies called the Blended Rate Income Fund, the BRIF. They call it BRIF. But if you're outside of WEC Energies, find out what the stable value fund is. You might be able to get a better interest rate inside of your 401k than you can get anywhere else. It's great. It's a great option inside of the 401ks.
Yeah.
Now, last one here, number 7. It's a little bit more specific. It doesn't quite apply to everyone, but there are some people that in WEC Energies that are executives. Someone's got to make some decisions at the top level, and for whatever reason, the way that a lot of these executives are compensated is they have something called deferred compensation, where perhaps you earn your income now, but you get to defer it till later on. Kind of the theory is maybe you hit retirement, you need that income then. You don't need income when you're 60 and you're working, but man, you're 65 and you're retired, you might want to have that income then. So they do this deferred compensation. And it's a little bit like the 401k, just a little bit. It's not exactly a 401k, but you don't pay taxes today. You pay taxes later on. But what's so interesting, I could not believe this when I found this out, but we've been making use of it, is for whatever reason, inside of this deferred compensation fund, they don't have that BRIF, blended rate income fund. They have something called the prime rate fund. And you might have heard of prime rate with your home equity lines of credits, car loans. They'll say, oh, you pay prime plus 2 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And prime rates might be like 3%, 4% in 2020 or so. Well, that's a pretty good interest rate. That's better than the BRIF account we just talked about. That's better than bank accounts that we talked about. So you might want to look into it. If you are somebody that wants short-term money, that's about the best interest rate you can find is the prime rate fund. So you have someone just recently we were helping out with, and they determined that you need to have some short-term money. Well, you could go to the banks. That's paying close to zero. You could go to that BRIF account that was paying 1.5%, 2%, whatever it was at the time. Or you could go with the prime rate fund, and that was paying like 4%. Well, we said, guess what? Your deferred compensation is now your short-term money because you can get the best interest rate there and allow your other places. You can get growth investments anywhere you want. So we said, let your other places be the growth area, and let's just max out what this prime rate fund is. I mean, that's great interest. 4% interest was what we were looking at. Whatever prime rate's paying, that's what you're getting. That's what the prime rate fund means. Yep. It's just amazing. Even just good advice all around. When you dig into what you already have, when you dig into your 401k, dig into your pension, dig into your benefits around sick leave, around your deferred comp or stock options, there are just some amazing values that might be sitting there with what you already have. That's why we love learning about this stuff, to help you just maximize what you already have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many positives. I like the fact that there's more positives than pitfalls. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yep.
But yeah, those are all great points. And seriously, most of them are things that people just probably haven't ever heard before. And, who are they going to ask within the company? Who are they going to ask, like you said, amongst your friends, may have a completely different situation. So go to the expert. You got the website set up. I appreciate that. I know that they will as well. What else do we want to talk about today as we're closing out?
Yeah, we just think this is such a huge, huge deal. Retirement, you get to retire, once in your life? You get one shot at retirement. There's absolutely no room for mistakes. So we very much encourage you, when you're trying to hit retirement, find a financial planner who focuses on retirement and has already helped people from your company, in this case, WEC Energy's, actually help them retire. So they're familiar with all these different pitfalls that you can avoid, familiar with these different ways that you can have a successful retirement. And we're just going to finish up with 2 quick ways. These are 2 quick ways to tell if you found the right financial advisor for your WEC Energy's retirement.
All right.
If they're doing this, you're probably on the right track. If they're not, give us a call. Right? We're here to help you out. But the 2 quick things they ought to be doing is when you're meeting them and they're asking you questions and they're trying to find out information, if they help you get projections on each of your pension options, right? If they're trying to find out what it looks like at age 57, 58, 60, 65, and they're making comparisons on the lump sum versus the monthly pension, if they're digging into it, getting good information, you're on the right track. Right? They're trying to find out more about your pension so that you can make the best decision. And the second thing is if they are calling in with you to Fidelity, to your 401k, and they're trying to find out this term called cost basis, and they're mentioning net unrealized appreciation, they're trying to figure out how to do the best tax situation for your WEC Energy stock. So that's kind of 2 quick ways to tell, and that applies to everybody. If the advisor is helping you find out more about your pension, helping you find out more about the tax benefits of the stock inside of your 401k, you're probably on the right track with the type of advisor that's going to help you make a good retirement choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy, those are both great points. And again, I agree 100%. Your advisor needs to be really focused on every possible scenario with you so that you know exactly what you want to choose, because it is your choice. It's the client's choice. It's not the advisor's choice. The advisor is there to advise. And if they're not giving you all those options, then that's a problem. So definitely need to be seeking some professional help with that. Jeremy, as we close, final thoughts.
Yeah, we love working with all the WE Energy's folks we worked at over our entire career here. It's fun to dig into it, fun to find ways for them to maximize their retirement. So if you want to speak with one of us that's a retirement planning specialist, please just give us a call. It's 262-333-8353, or go right to the website. It's, in this case, WEenergiesRetirement.com. And if you don't work at WE Energies, KeilFP.com. Love to talk to you guys.
Jeremy, thank you so much. This is a great podcast. I appreciate your time, and I know everybody out there listening appreciates it. We will talk to you soon on the next podcast, okay?
Sounds good, Eric.
All right. And for you, the listening audience, thank you so much for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast with Jeremy Keil. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Jeremy comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This also makes it even easier to share these podcasts with your friends, family, and if you're working at WE Energies, your coworkers, because they need to hear this before they approach their retirement. So please share this with them. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Keil Financial Partners, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast. Click on the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit retirement-revealed.com to learn more. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Keil Financial Partners. Keil Financial Partners does not provide legal, accounting, or tax advice. Consult your attorney or tax professional. Representatives have general knowledge of the Social Security tenets. For complete details on your situation, contact the Social Security Administration. Keil Financial Partners is a part of the Thrivent Advisor Network, a registered investment advisor. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.